All right, we're starting the meeting. It is December 14th at 6:30 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Everyone is in attendance except for Trustee Stein and Trustee Whittick. Everyone else is here, so let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment and input. So, can someone make a motion to consent the agenda?
I'll make a motion to consent the agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Studi and second by Trustee Johnson. Sheriff is not here, so we'll move on. Reports. I'm just going to make one report, and then Lateria is taking over the rest because she had it all in her notes. So the only thing I'll report is I helped Lateria with the road rating. We went through and rated all of the roads together. It was her first time doing it. We called Chris with a few questions and actually Ernie with a few questions, but she got it sent off this week, and it was actually done before Thanksgiving, but she was double checking everything to make sure it was right, and they'll contact us if there's any mistakes. But everything looks in pretty good shape with the exception of Lathrop.
Yep.
And that's not really, we'll talk about that later. And then Green Meadow, everything that had a rating, pretty much everything went down like one more degree. And Lathrop, I think, is at like the worst rating it can possibly be, if we're working on that. So we'll wait to hear from the rest of Lateria. Other reports, Trustee Hinkle, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Johnson?
Yeah, just the salt. That was total insanity.
Too much?
I mean, there's piles. I mean, it was what, 42 2 days later, and then, I mean, if you're driving 25, which everyone should be, or less, a little bit of ice, you're just gonna be okay. But I mean, when there's,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money laying out on that street. And it was,
Was there a lot?
I mean, I don't know if it'll wreck the asphalt if it sits there for 2 weeks, but I mean, it was.
Until it rains.
It was brutal.
Was it just by us or was it down by you too?
It was right on Maryland.
Right by the
second
circle.
house.
Mhm.
Well, even before Jeff's house coming down west, there was a pile, but I mean, there was,
You
it's like they
mentioned
just
that.
stopped at the corners and just kept it rolling. It was,
And we've talked about that, so we will contact them and just,
we're gonna be out of money quick.
well, my parents were in the neighborhood. My dad said, "Why do you have so much salt?" I said, "Yeah, we gotta contact Oswald." So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
That's all.
All right, anything to report, Trustee Rude?
Just in light of the fact that the board is considering the windows in the complex, I've just been doing a lot of research on different types of windows.
Yes, excellent. And we will be bringing it up tonight. And I've gotten some good info too, so yeah, excellent. Trustee Stein is excused. Trustee Studi?
Just go over the last event we had. Well, we did the turkey trot, that turned out well. I believe we did. Did you guys discuss it at the last meeting?
Go ahead.
I think it's something we should definitely do again next year. The turnout was much higher than I thought it was going to be, and I heard nothing but good things from everybody. So I thought that was a really easy lift of a community event that I felt was super beneficial. And then the Christmas party wasn't as high attended as the year before, but it still felt very wholesome, and I heard nothing but good things as well.
And it was a week earlier, which partly was my fault, I think. But it is moved back to the second weekend in December for next year.
Okay.
So I think that maybe it'll be better attended. Linda, thoughts on Santa did not make an appearance. Do you think that was missed? I'm just curious.
So I think it was missed from the kids. Do we need a Santa to come down and take pictures and have kids sit on his lap? No. But I think when we had Santa come last year and just hand out candy canes and gifts, just make a round through the room and leave, I think that was more.
Perfect, okay. So just make a note of that for next year. I thought it went great.
I think
So,
so.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next year too, we gotta make sure you got sternos and stuff. So that's like the only.
And I think we really need to, check in with Storino's, because they own Storino's, restaurant in Kenosha.
Yeah.
And they would be a really good person to say, can we buy and cater, can we get food from you? That's supporting one of our own villagers in their business.
Yes.
And I think that'd be a great, and they were great. They came tonight, or not tonight, but on that Saturday, so.
I think we didn't have a lot of food that was brought to pass around, and I think if we didn't have that masticholi out there, we would all just kind of little bits of things.
Brings me to a point, a thought that I had. Would it make any sense to have like a sheet, like a sign-up sheet, to bring certain things, entree, dessert,
Like a
sign?
sign-up sheet,
There's
yes.
something like that. The issue, I think, would be getting it out to these people.
It's always the issue.
Yeah, okay.
But that's, I
Well,
mean,
just a thought.
I think it's a good place to start, and I don't oppose it at all. I mean, word of mouth is one thing, and if people want to bring something, they can just call the village or email us and say, hey, I'm going to bring this, and you can just throw it in.
But another thought would be, to have the mains supplied by us.
Right.
And then, hey, bring a dish to pass, whether it's a dessert or a side or whatever, it doesn't matter, chips and salsa, whatever.
Yeah. I think that's
Okay.
easy.
well, the nice thing is we can save anything that, like we did for crafts, pretty much, for next year, and even some of the presents, if they, anything, although some of that stuff I was just trying to move along, it's been here now for a while. Okay, excellent. Trustee Whittick is excused. Administrator Shaw, your report.
All right, lots of things going on in the village. So the damage that was done on Oak Tree Lane, that's been repaired by Racing Water and Utilities. I don't know if you all have had a chance to take a look at it, but they patched it up and it's back in order. We've been having a lot of issue with trees in the village, so a lot of trees been needing to take down. We're gonna be planning to have those trees taken out in January, so the one on Great Elms Lane and then the one right here in the complex. This one over here on Great Elms Lane, that was from the car accident that happened, and this one is just rotted, so, that's quite a big expense, so we're just happy that it's in the new year instead of this year.
I have a question about the trees. Because there was an accident, sometimes the state will contact the person who has damage and see if they in fact did have anything happen that they have cost incurred. Have you heard anything from them about that?
No, and I'll take a note of that too. We did talk about that in the past.
I just,
So,
they'll just say, did you have to replace anything, and what was the cost when you go for the person?
For us, not for the
Yeah.
car, right? That's what
Yeah,
you're saying,
for
okay.
for
Yes.
us.
yeah, so the motorists did come from their insurance?
Yes, it should be paid by,
Okay.
although we're pretty sure we can just, that tree is so dead, I think kids would walk it over.
Yeah, yes.
And then it's not a cheap fix. I mean, it should be cheaper than what it is, for what it is for removing it. Okay.
Yes. So then we have an issue with like the lighting in Taylor Complex. So as of November 30th, the tenant, Building 5, they moved out. And we discovered that the parking lot lights went out. When their lights went out, they are responsible for their own utilities. So we were trying to figure out how everything's wired in Building 5 because obviously we want to have more tenants in there. And it's a pretty big issue if they're paying for something on the village. So that is a big deal. So we do want to fill it up with somebody soon. I mean, it brings in great revenues, $3,300 a month to rent. So I'm in the process of doing that. And I did speak with Tim Kowitz. He wouldn't be the inspector just because Taylor Complex is for the city of Racine. So somebody from Racine would have to come out and inspect and organize and go through those meters. So, and their utility bill is quite high. So the previous tenant. I did get a call today too for people who are interested in renting. So very interested today. A funeral home director is interested in Building 5.
We thought that was, she was like, that was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And this just happened today. So,
Making a little funeral home?
possibly.
yeah. Yep, so.
Taylor Complex.
Let's hear him.
Yeah,
a little
so-
chuckle about that one. We're like, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
with the history and everything, but yeah, that's very exciting. And then another person is interested to do a daycare as well. But she was concerned about getting that door in, so she knew the previous tenant, and she's aware of it being open now. So we have 2 people.
Screening really well.
Yes. And I'll get more detail. I didn't schedule anything as far as a show on or anything for it, but I told them I'll follow up with them next week.
There you go. At least we have a couple of leads.
Yeah,
So that's great.
yeah, very excited. Also, when they moved out, the last tenant in building 5, they owed back rent for October and November. So we kind of sort through their security deposit right now to kind of see what we owe them, and then this issue with the lights, of course.
And there was some discrepancy, I think, right, Kendall, from when they first started, what the security deposit was, there was something,
That's all been sorted out and it's all been fixed in QuickBooks.
okay. So we're just trying to figure out, they were really trying to stick it to us that the lights were on their bill.
Yeah.
However, Kurt knows that they left the air conditioning on,
Mhm.
so that's one of the reasons why it was really high. And then also the heat was left on,
Yes.
not by us, and that's
Yes.
also why it was very high, so we're just trying to let them, show them and connect the dots for them, like, this is not all because of the parking lot lights.
Right.
Because now the bill is very, very low.
Mhm.
No, it's still not low?
I think it's still really high.
Okay,
Oh, you got the bill.
okay.
What was the number? It was like 500 for electric,
No.
500 for electric, and then 200-ish for gas. in
Okay.
one month.
Okay, and she's,
Very
the
high.
last tenant reported it was about 900
Oh,
at times.
but they had that air conditioning set at 64,
Okay.
and it was hot outside.
Ugh.
It's like, that's just spinning like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they did have the heat on too,
Mhm.
at one point, and it's just like, it was hot.
So we're
It's
trying,
expensive.
we're trying not to make enemies, but also trying to work with them to figure out how much those parking lot meters actually, not meters, how much parking lot lights actually cost. So we're hoping that Racine can help us figure that cost out.
Yeah, you might be able to ask Tim even.
We asked him, right?
No, about putting a meter on that circuit that comes to these lights.
He said he won't do it because.
No, he won't do it, but
Yeah.
maybe get RIC to do it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
Like electric?
that way it's, we know exactly how much that.
that's
these
what he
lights
told us to do, but he said contact the city first.
are-
That, she
Yeah.
talked to Lataria, right? She had talked to Tim already.
Just let us know we could put a home meter on there, and that would be for the.
It would be,
building separator.
the meter would be inside the electrical area, I'm sure it could be done.
Yeah.
You
So I
know,
emailed, the guy from Racine today, so hopefully he can get back to me and we'll get it started.
Well, I'll see RIC tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll share that information with you guys
Yeah,
on what our.
we're meeting at the school tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. And then we have been having issues with tenants paying their rent kind of late. It's kind of been an ongoing thing. So we're thinking in the year, I wanted to see what the board thought about implementing the 3% fee. And that is already in the lease when they sign it, but people pay late all the time. Right now, we have 3 people late this month, and someone just paid like yesterday.
So it's a matter of enforcement then?
Yes.
Yeah, matter of enforcement, like enforcing that.
So maybe putting a 3% penalty on it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
that's
already
what's
in their
the
lease, but it's never been,
The 5th is when it's due, right?
So is it due on the 1st or the 5th?
The 5th.
And
Why
is there
the
a
5th?
grace period after the 1st?
No, the 5th is the grace
Mhm.
I mean,
So it's 5 days.
so that gives 5 days grace period.
Mhm.
And
So a lot of
technically,
people pay
there's a
like
grace
15.
period, so I'm not in the office, so they put it in on the 5th, but I don't work till the
Yeah.
8th, and there still is more of a grace period. But right now, we're on the 14th, and we have a couple that haven't.
Mhm.
and this was not enforced from what we can gather.
Yeah.
This was never enforced before. So when Lataria and I talked earlier today, and she brought me her notes, the one thing I said is I wanted to know what your thoughts were before we go through with something like that. Because if you think it's gonna scare off people,
Yeah.
obviously we don't wanna lose tenants. But I do feel like if it's in their lease, we should probably hold them accountable. So thoughts, or if you wanna change it and make it an agenda item for next month, I can do that, we can vote on it.
Well, coming into the new year, it's a great time for change.
Mhm.
And it can be when their lease renews, that it's now mandatory. We can change the verbiage a little bit, but I think the 5-day grace period is very generous.
Okay.
I have no issues with enforcing that. Would you feel comfortable with enforcing that, like calling these people?
Yeah. And then I was also thinking, like, cause some people get paid later in the month, like maybe they can tell us prior if that's the way it's gonna be set up. Like, I know we have a lease, but some people have been here for a while and they've been paying consistently later. So I'm wondering, like, if you could say, hey, maybe just let us know. and
That
then
the
we work with them.
15th works better for us because we made our payment on the 15th rather than the 1st.
As long as we know it.
As long as we know, I have no problem with that, but it can't just be, oh, I'm gonna pay you now, is my thought.
I think
Does
that's
everybody
reasonable.
Yeah.
agree?
Yes, the only issue I would have would be if they don't pay the late fee, then what? I mean, it makes no sense, in my
If
opinion.
you don't pay the late fee, it gets taken out of your security deposit.
Fair enough, that sounds fine.
I mean, you're in debt.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and if it keeps happening, keeps happening,
You're just depleting your security deposit.
Mhm.
you're correct. Agreed, but here's my opinion. I don't think you should evict anyone for 3% of the rent.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay.
But I think if we, I think actually it's a really good suggestion. If they can pay at a different time in the month and that works really well for them, then let's just get that in writing from them and we'll just change.
Give an example, $370, 3% is $11.
Right, it's not like,
So it's
Right.
like, it's just a little annoying little thing that's gonna be tacked onto your next month's
Yeah,
lease if you don't
yeah.
pay on time, like
Right.
$11.
Right.
It adds up over time.
It's still an incentive. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, $11 every month, does add up.
and why have it in the lease if we're not gonna enforce it? So,
So
Yeah.
careful with security deposit though too, because if that all of a sudden, they use that up and we've
Yeah.
got stuff to take care of,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, then we're gonna be back in the Billy situation.
yeah. I think we've got pretty good tenants, but I do think maybe we just need to talk to them about
Yeah.
what works better for your due date. Can we make this your due date then because you're consistently late? So I just thought it would be good to enforce and Letiria, I think you brought it to my attention, so.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense. That's a good compromise.
Mhm.
You give us the date you're comfortable with, it works for you. However, we do need to start enforcing this.
Mhm.
And I'll send out a memo as well, and then I do want to check in, are we still doing a maintenance request, and how did you feel about that, Kurt?
How about, excuse me?
A maintenance
The maintenance
request?
request we talked about a while ago?
Like a shift ticket.
Yeah, like when the tenants put in a ticket for requests.
For the most part, they leave it fine. The tenants leave it fine for the most part, you know.
Okay.
So, I mean, building 5, prime example, they got everything out of there. We expect to see some stuff, but not, I mean, I don't think they ever remove that printer. You know,
Still.
We're gonna have
Oh.
to deal with that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll
Facebook
send out a
Marketplace.
memo. I
Why?
can send out a memo.
Facebook
at the beginning of the
Marketplace.
year.
Well, I'm just gonna wheel it out to the street, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah,
So, this
Well, I
is
can
right
get
on
it
the way for
together
the
for
guys
it.
to go to the dump.
okay.
And so the next item is Hazel Park. It needs to be updated. So it is rezoned correctly to the Village of Elmwood Park, but the address is coming out as the Johnson family. So we have to get an individual address for the park. So we're in the process of doing that, and basically we do that as a municipality. So I'll be working on doing that. And what was the address again, Kendall? What was it between?
It was 30,
09.
yeah, well, that was what it was, the house right
Next
next to it. So plus 8, so 3417, is that what you said? Why'd you say plus 8? Because they're all,
A lot of the houses go by feet.
okay, so
Okay.
3417. So, Letiria did contact the Register of Deeds just to get some idea as to how you add an address, and they were really no help. So they're like, yeah, you just, your own
Good to know.
municipality does it, but,
Yeah.
so we're kind of searching for like, how do we go about this, to see if there's paperwork, there's something, I'm assuming there's some form that we have to fill
Mhm.
out, so we're looking into it.
Especially if it's gonna be on a map, so it has to have the address. So, and then there's an issue with the ceiling at Evergreen Academy, so that is being looked at right now. 10,000 plus in repairs, so.
Is
This
it
is
Kurt, why don't we let Kurt
Yeah.
just explain what happened?
On Wednesday, got a call from the school saying the ceiling came down. Part of the ceiling came down. What it is, that building's 100 years old, and the original ceiling was plaster and lath. And at some point, who knows when, it was failing, and they put a suspended underneath it, 18 inches down. Well, now, it's 100 years old. Some plaster came falling down, went down through the suspended ceiling, and they're freaking, thinking everything's asbestos. So yesterday I went up there and found out we got it tested and it's not asbestos, which is great. But they did want any children in the room. So they pulled the kids out of the room. They were very cooperative. So it's vacant. Tomorrow morning, we've got a contractor, and I contacted a contractor because I thought it's kind of an emergency. I didn't want to go through 3 different contractors and spend 4 or 5 days trying to get this fixed. It's got to get fixed. So we got the Ultimate coming in tomorrow. We're going to start just kind of prepping everything. We're going to tear the whole ceiling down and the plaster ceiling above, and then put a drop ceiling in.
Was that a
So-
contractor that we worked with before?
Pardon me?
Was that a contractor that we worked with before as far
No.
as? Okay, I
No,
thought
but
that he was
I knew
involved.
of him, so I called him.
All right.
We really haven't had have a contractor like that in my time.
Okay.
I think that, although this is a big expense, I'm grateful it happens during their winter break.
Right.
Because it really isn't gonna, they're out of school next Wednesday, is their last day?
Yeah, Wednesday's our last day. The
So-
21st, we could have got in there, but with Mike Meyer, he kind of wanted to start the 21st, but Kyle, who's the principal over there, we talked him into starting on Monday.
So that's good, so.
That's good, so that they have to, it's a good 2-week project.
Hopefully it'll be all done by the kids go back.
Yeah, they go back
Session.
January 4th, and that's the goal, is to get it all done by January
And
4th.
I'm grateful that they took the kids out of the classroom. I think that would be not a good thing.
Well, yeah,
Classroom
we all
probably not
agree.
for small children.
Well, the biggest thing was just to get the lab report.
Yeah, yes, and that was good. Thank you
That
for
was-
taking care of that.
I do have a guy that we worked here with before, is an abatement contractor, and talked to him, and he said, oh, bring it into the lab, it'll take a week or so to get results. And he said, well, the alternative was to drive to Wauwatosa, where he was, did that, and within an hour and a half, we had lab reports,
Which is great. It's awesome.
which is awesome, and it just speed up the whole process.
So with that, is the contractor checking the integrity of the other ceilings in the classroom?
There's only one other ceiling. That room used to be, it's a basement room, it used to be one massive room, and they put a wall in there probably about, before me, 15 years ago or whatever, and they both have the same ceiling.
So maybe the other side needs to be,
I don't know if we want to open that can of worms right now.
Well, you
I
looked in
mean,
there.
you know,
Looked in there.
if
It's rough,
they
too.
said,
that particular side of the room, you could see tiles sagging.
Mhm.
On the other side, you don't see tiles sagging where there's plaster laying on it.
okay.
You know, so, plus the fact that they took all the kids out of one classroom, there's only 6 classrooms in the building, they took one out. And we don't want to deal with taking 2 classrooms out, that's what the principal also said.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, this is a $15,000 project, we want to open it, you know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
Oh, I know.
safety.
Well, that's what our main concern was too, to make sure no kids were in that room.
Right.
So,
And he's gonna start asbestos.
it's expensive, we don't know how long they're gonna be there, but
That's the other thing. is-
that ceiling's been up for 40 years, 50 years,
Yeah,
you know, so.
okay. So,
Oh, yes, and so, for the furnaces as well, we, had 2 furnaces go out. So building 5, right after the tenants, left, so it's kind of good time because no one was in there, but still, it went out. And then building 1 is where we are in the admin building as well. So 4 furnaces still need to be replaced in the future.
And I think they're all from like 1985.
Yeah, beautiful
they
1985.
just keep kicking the bucket. It's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
It was a good year.
Stop calling me to tell me that another, so Ellen is furnace is down. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh, the 37.
I know, they're as old as me.
And first
I'm not
call,
37, but okay, we'll go with that.
first call gave us a $400 rebate on that
Right.
furnace,
On
which
that
was
gas
very nice,
Yeah.
so.
And okay.
And then the last thing, I do have some information about like energy, focus on energy and its help with high efficiency lighting, smart devices. They give you some grants and things for municipalities, so I'll pass this around. I did contact them to see, especially when we're working on windows and things like that. But currently, I think it'd be a good option for us, so I'll let you all know next meeting or before then if I hear back from them. But I think that's something we really look into at this time.
So there's grants that are associated with this?
Yes.
Okay. Would this be for 2024?
Yes,
Okay.
upcoming year, maybe 2025. So I'm hoping to get like a quote or estimate or something from them,
I think that's
something to get excited about. And this is recommended by Kelly.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Okay, yeah.
Also, the RCICC meeting, which is the Racine County, like, intergovernmental meeting, happened to be when I was out, due to surgery. So Latiria went in my place. Is there anything you want to say? I know the one thing, she said it was a very contentious meeting. Very, like, seemed a little, people were a little stressed.
They talked a lot about like cybersecurity is something I want to learn more about. And we also have Nancy here today. She'll be talking about that topic as well. So that was one of the big things that stood out to me. They did ask, is there anything that, I wanted to report? And I said, hey, what about Lathrop Avenue? Coming up in the new year, because everyone's here, and a lot of people have their hands in Lathrop Avenue in the municipality. So, and everyone's got a nice chunk of change for infrastructure. So I think it'd be a great time to work on it.
So, those meetings are really awesome. I like to go to them, and I was glad that she could go.
Yeah.
And to
Yes,
represent
going,
us.
it's important that we kind of cooperate with the other municipalities and they can help us in
Mhm.
different things.
And it's interesting. Kendall, you're on the treasurer's report. Is there anything you would like to report?
Nothing that won't be covered later.
Today? Okay, great. Okay, so moving on, we have a presentation. Nancy, how do you say your last name?
Winnie.
Winnie?
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie. So from Nancy Winnie on our village insurance. So Nancy, take it away.
Hello.
Hello.
So, I think that you sent everyone this proposal
Yes,
prior to the meeting, but I did bring one for everyone in case you didn't have a chance to look at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You've had this insurance for a long time. Christoph, I worked with him over the years. Anybody else? So, I put two little tabs on there because honestly, I think there's so much information in there that those two tabs are really the most important tabs, if you ask me. So the first tab is the premium comparison page that just shows you the difference between last year and this year. So obviously things don't go down, but hopefully we can keep them in line, and having an estimated total overall increase at a single digit still is good. So we are doing good that way. And so if you kind of look down, the LWMI package policy, that's pretty much an all-encompassing package that is part of the League of Municipalities. It's honestly probably the best program you can be in. There's so many municipalities in that. In fact, in the back of that presentation is all the municipalities that are insured in that, and then the red ones are what R&R does. So just to give you some peace of mind that way, it's a not-for-profit organization, so you own them. It's not like a normal insurance company, so that should put you at ease as well. So in that area, the increase was 5.3 for just that total package, and really the main reason is just the payroll. pretty much all of the premium increases are due to the payroll other than the property. Property, as you may know, with your own homes, their rates are just ridiculous. With, you know, cost of building materials and supply chain issues, it's still an issue. And with all of the wind and hail claims that are happening, you know, you probably got notices at your home that you're gonna have a wind hail deductible now. That's like 10% of what your premium is, and so your deductible really doesn't apply. So anyway, all of that causes property rates for every insurance company to increase. So in addition to that though, your values do increase each year by 7% with an inflation guard. And the other tab that I put on there are the property values. That is the second page, the second thing that I think is important to look at. Those have been looked at every year by all of you, hopefully. And you are scheduled to have an appraisal done for free from MPIC, who is the property carrier, this coming year. So that will give us all ease of mind that the values are where they need to be at. Some of the municipalities have their appraisals done already, and we do them every 5 years. So you have had a couple, but you're due again for another one. So then we'll make sure that these values are still in line. And so unfortunately, like some of them go up. I had one just the other day, and the appraisal caused about an 18% increase. So, you know, your buildings are pretty much concrete block, I think. So I'm not anticipating something like that for you all, but I can't say I'm not an appraiser. So then the other items, crime that stayed the same, workers' compensation, the rates are regulated by the state. So we have nothing to do with that. That's a insurance coverage that no matter where you have it, the premium would be the same. It's solely based on payroll. You can get mod factors applied if you have claims. You have no claims, so you guys are pretty clean. So that's all good. So really, again, in that area, the only increase is due to any kind of payroll increase. The audit, things that are just automatic, that just keep staying the same are like your liability limits and stuff. You have had $4 million forever. That's perfectly a good value to have. So I have no recommendations on things that you should do or not do, so I think you're doing well. It's a January 9th renewal. So are there any questions of me from all of this information you were given?
Do we need to have Kaiser Park in here? Kaiser Park is our new park, and so.
I did have that, right?
I thought we did.
Well, I see BB School Park, like where their park is, or at least I see what, it says property in the open. And then on BB School, I see all the stuff at BB School, but I didn't see anything with Kaiser Park, so I just wondered if I'm missing it.
The ceiling thing, would that be clean?
I don't know. Good
It
questions.
It has to be a covered cause of loss, so there has to be a reason other than just wear and tear or, you know, things like that. So like if hail or something like that, a covered cause of loss caused it, you'd have to determine what caused that. It sounded to me it's probably just age.
Yeah.
You can't really insure that, unfortunately.
All right.
Well, I don't blame you. I thought about it the minute you were talking about all that. I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, and, you know, like if someone's tree caught or whatever, you know, that's different, or if it was struck by lightning, or.
That says BB School at the top.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
playground equipment is $45,000. Is that for BB school?
Well, that's what I thought, because I think all of this
Yeah,
is for
I
BB
think-
School. So on page, I don't know where it is, it's after the one that you flagged, municipal property insurance, that, then there's like a blank page, and then there's one that says BB School with all of the information.
Mhm.
And there's like that $45,000 playground equipment.
Mhm.
Is that at BB School? I don't know if there's.
Is there that much playground equipment there? Could it be more than one playground? Because property in the open is such as that. Property that's in the open that can be damage from,
Because I would say all these other things on this list are definitely BB school, the chain link fence.
except for maybe that
But
45,000.
well,
Is
I
that
mean, there's
probably
a,
what we added, Kendall, you think?
Well, the park was a little bit more than 45,000.
It was like
It was
90.
like 70.
uh-huh, not 90.
No,
Okay.
it was like 70,000.
And we thought we did.
Well, I know I emailed you guys to add it once it was installed, so I wasn't sure, maybe it just got, forgotten
So I
about
had
when the
that.
renewal came,
We'll have to
maybe it
make
was.
sure.
I'll check on that.
Okay,
Was it, so you, what's the park called?
it's Kaiser Park, Kaiser, and it's not near BB school at all.
It's not.
It's on Standish Lane. It's not even it's not even in this vicinity of the complex.
It's not.
It's in our village, but it is public property. That's
And 45,000 is,
definitely not what it
it's
costs.
definitely not enough, but is that,
What it costs.
more than what BB school would need?
That Italy park there?
Yes.
I mean, if something were to happen to that, we probably wouldn't even replace it.
Well, you got that tennis court. I don't know.
Well, that's on here separately.
Okay.
I think to replace even that small park
It
would
would
be
be
about
expensive.
50 grand.
Yeah.
I mean.
The one in
something
BB school.
comparable,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So-
look what we got for 70. and
So
that's
Kaiser, we probably want 90.
to replace with-
There was we had a grant, but I don't know. Didn't we have
The total amount was like 70.
70? Okay.
So it'll probably cost more than that to replace it, instead of like a tornado hit it. You know?
Oh, with all the mulch and the,
Yeah.
I regret that we didn't put electrical over there.
Would you be able to break it down a little bit, like BB school is, with fencing and playground?
Yeah, I can pull out the
Information.
Yeah,
the bill for that.
we would want to add that, unfortunately, that's gonna increase.
And Kendall include like benches, picnic table, we have two or three benches over there, picnic table.
Now, the replacement
I'll
cost,
check my records too. I don't remember. It should be, I don't know if we added it in here. It's not.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you can think of right now. It's not
We
like-
have in the library, you know.
What about, we just replaced basketball hoops in our gym? Like brand new basketball hoops? Should we also add those to our insurance?
Well, it would be part of the.
The gym and
Mhm.
all together? I just wanted to make sure.
Contract
Okay.
value. Right, so the property, personal property value, we can increase that amount to,
I don't, they were 4,000,
4,500.
4,500 for both. I just wanted to let you know, because those were put in brand new this year.
okay.
Everything you're adding, though, is gonna cost us more money than.
I know, but I just want to make sure, like, yes, no, I don't want to add it, but I do want, if those break,
And they fall on the
But it has to be a
park.
covered truck lot, too.
uh,
Yeah, they fall on the
You know,
park.
so, how do those break? I don't know.
I don't know, they're bad.
So what,
You're like, shut up, and let's stop talking.
what building would that be? Right? So right now, I mean, the building is at 728,837, and the contents is at 34,379. I know this is a stranger to think of it, but like if you move, would you take those with? No, so it could be part of the building value,
Okay, that's fine.
so I think you're okay.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it has to.
Because I know it
fixed
costs
to
more
the
money to
building
add everything, but you don't.
Yes,
wanna do
yes,
like
you're probably right. I just brought it up because they were new.
Because
Like, I don't want-
Yeah, well, we talked about lawnmowers.
Will that all be reviewed when it's everything's
Yeah,
reappraised
Yeah,
anyways?
and when you get appraised, it'll be better too. I don't like the park though, not being anywhere, but I think the basketball hoops at the part of the 728, you're probably all right. $8,000, you know? It's not like a huge
Okay,
amount, nor would they be totally ruined if something catastrophic happened with the basketball hoop of that strength. I don't know.
no, I'll just pretend I didn't say that.
Right? Oh, I didn't hear
You
it.
didn't hear it.
I didn't hear that.
It's all recorded.
But the park, I do want to ask about that.
Yes, that's a good
That's something that could, you know.
Quick question.
Yes,
So I'm looking at building 3,
yes,
1,000,006,
yes.
and then the other ones are 5, 7, whatever. Why is that?
Why is the building 3 so high?
No, 4. No, that's.
No, it's building
Four,
three.
1.6.
Building 3 and building 5 are really high. Is that because of the gym or because of the space? Is that just because of space?
Square footage.
Square
Yeah,
footage.
it is square footage. That's why.
Yes.
You're asking me, she's right there.
Because it was appraised before, so it should be,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
I didn't look at that part, so I get it.
No, and, sometimes people don't always look at the statement of values, but personally, I think it's the second most important thing other than the premiums. So it may be something that you hasn't been pointed out to you in the past, but it should be. And we just found one here, so.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll get a quote to add Kaiser Park with 70,000, just so that you know what the additional cost would be. It's not gonna be huge. Because that's property in the open, and property in the open is honestly not that expensive.
Okay.
But, so I'll give you a revise, I'll send you an email, adding this will cost this.
Okay.
Okay, that works.
Cool.
I have a question on the replacement cost. Is that, like as an example, for our personal property at home, if our house burned down, they would replace it as it was. And I'm just wondering if that's the same type of thing that they have for
It
the
is.
buildings? It is?
It is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you replace new for old, so if you want to make sure that it would be enough coverage to rebuild it the way it was at today's prices and today's materials. Yes,
Thank you.
just like that.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else? All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, that's
Thank you
great.
so much.
Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And so once I get you that, the only thing, we would just need, vote and approval to renew as proposed. And I just need you to tell me, once I give you that number, renew as proposed, and then I'll renew it and, as we do each year. But we would need that.
Yes, so I'm assuming, I don't know, our next board meeting would be the 11th? Brian, can you check your calendar? Is it the 11th?
And this is January 9th.
Right, but our next board meeting to approve it would be the 11th. So is that okay if we approve it? Do you need us to approve it by the 9th?
I need approval prior to the.
We can have a special meeting.
Yeah, so we might have to meet quick and approve. Okay,
Yeah, unfortunately, we do need approval prior to the renewal dates.
that's fine.
What do you need as proof for approval? Just like the minutes or what?
I just need to know that I should renew as proposed.
So you just need an email?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I just need an email. You don't have to get together and do whatever. If you want to do a email.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Like, Material or Kendall just needs to say, we have to renew as proposed.
got it.
Done.
Okay.
Do you have any more information about the cybersecurity?
We do, in the proposal, you'll see, so automatically included in your coverage is 25,000 of first and third party cyber liability. Unfortunately, you can buy up, but you have to have things like multi-factor authentication, endpoint detection, things like that. Municipalities of your size don't qualify to buy higher limits than 25,000, and that's why the LWMI throws that in. There actually is, if you look in here, there's lots of resources available to you, and there is a university, a lead university, and you can actually go on there and they do have cybersecurity training. So I would recommend that you all do that, at least the two of you, Material and Kendall. And that will just help you with things, but a lot of times board members do it too, so that you don't click on emails or, things like that.
Okay.
So I would recommend, I think you will be pleasantly surprised what you see on that website, and you're all welcome to it. There's so much helpful information here at your fingertips that you don't even realize it. So as much as this might be mishmash, it's actually extremely valuable information. You know, you have a human resources availability for all sorts of things. So if there's anything you think of that you think you need, at least ask me and I can at least direct you where to go, because there's just so much information here for you that probably hasn't been utilized as much as it should be or could be, or, you know, maybe in the past wasn't. So as much as this is paper, it's really valuable and important paper.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
That's good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a nice holiday.
I'll email the two of you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. So the next item up is the approval of 2024-25 election inspectors. Kendall, is there anything you want to say about this? I think all the inspectors are on the very last page of your packet. But Kendall, you're kind of in charge of our elections, so.
Let's see, we have,
Drive safe.
thank you. We have about three.
Thank you so
people.
much, Nancy.
Thank you.
We have 3 new people who volunteered, which I think is a great number, leading us into this next season with a good amount of workers to help us get through all 4 elections in '24. Yeah, so I'm hopeful.
Okay, great. So we need a motion to approve the 2024-25 election inspectors.
I move to approve the 2024, 2025 election inspectors as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, first by trustee Hinkle and second by trustee Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so passed. Next up, we have a resolution 2023-10 for authorizing the transfer of budgeted funds. Again, Kendall, I'm calling you for this one.
Yep.
Just explain why we are transferring things. We talked a little bit today.
It's the last month of the year, and we want to be responsible fiscally in the village. So I was looking over you guys have the budget to actuals packet in front of you, where all of our income and our expenses for the entire year. And so I was looking at the totals of each category, not each individual line item, because that gets really tedious. But if you look at just the governmental expenses, and you look at just the maintenance expenses, I wanted to make sure that we were under budget for each of those. And so the 2 big ones that were still over budget come December were the Taylor Complex maintenance, because we had those furnaces replaced. And then office supplies still came in over, even after we adjusted that last month. And so those were the 2 totals where I wanted to just kind of move the numbers around to show that we still had enough income to be able to support the adjustment of the expenses going up a little bit higher in those categories.
Smart. Okay. So,
Do you
questions?
understand why are the office expenses, we just approved that recently, why, is there something happening that?
There were more trainings, there was computers, there were a hard drive that had to need to be replaced, just more supplies, especially with 2 people in the office, and then all those extra supplies, being able to hire a second person for the office, it really added up.
And Kendall's computer died during the budget, and it was a new computer, but not, it was like a refurbished computer, and her hard drive totally died, so she had to go get it fixed. And your computer is still okay, right? But that was kind of a disaster. And it was during like the worst time. So I think that was pretty much those were the biggest expenses.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Believe me, they need more pens in there. I'm buying a drawer. You need a drawer? Oh, there is a drawer. Yeah, well, I need to go in your drawer. Any other questions about transferring or moving money around? Okay, then I need a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2023-10, authorizing the transfer of budgeted funds as presented.
Okay, and a second. Okay. First, motion made by trustee Hinkle, second by trustee Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so passed. Next, I brought this because we talked and we had Mark Kingston, our lawyer, come in and talk about the stump. And then we didn't really talk about it again. And we went back and forth with Mark about a couple of things. So I asked, Mark sent me an email. This has been I've been stumped about the stump, I'm not kidding you. And if you look at I think it's the third page, there is a letter from Mark about the stump. And I'm having a really hard time going back to Shirley, and now I've seen this, now I can really see the stump because all her beautiful flowers are gone. It is huge. It's just really hard. She's gonna fight us on the fact that were you here at the stump meeting when she came? Okay. She's gonna fight us that everyone else then needs to take out her stump, and that's my biggest, like, we can tell her, no, you have to take it out. There's a couple different things we could do. I don't know what to do. I honestly need your help. And do you want me to enforce it? I'm afraid she's gonna sit out there and call the NAACP and do these things and say we're picking on her, which we're not. She has gotten letters in the past, but they did not enforce her the way that it should have been enforced. That's the hardest part I'm having with this, is there was, we should have been fining her, and we didn't. She got the letters, nobody fined her. Now what do? Now we're complaining about it, and she got those letters in 2021. And then it just, I can find all the letters, but nothing was done. And now it's 2023, and she's really fighting with us and saying we're picking on her. So you can see why I'm struggling with this, because I like to get things cleaned up and like, yes, we have to take care of this, let's take care of this. And they didn't take care of it, and now it's sitting in my lap. And I don't want her to feel like I'm picking on her, but I also can see the unsightliness of it. So take a look at Mark's letter for me, if you could, please. You can skim it, you don't have to read the whole thing. But the biggest problem that Mark came back to us was, it was really hard to find when we put it into place and it got moved to another spot. And what Kendall, explain how we talked about this. When it got moved is when we think that the stump removal happened, is when we moved it into a different section of the ordinances, okay? So it wasn't in there prior, and then all of a sudden it appeared when we moved it to like chapter 10 ordinances, correct? So it wasn't in there before, but we just don't have record, like I can't find us actually voting on, yes, we want stump removal to happen. There was a period of time.
But you did vote on the approval
Of all
the
of those
amended
things.
chapter 10.
Right,
And that
The
stands.
board voted on that.
but not as separate lines.
I spoke with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and they say that it should not matter if you vote individually on a line items of a chapter. If the board approved the chapter in whole, your vote stands.
So that's when we think it went into place,
So when was that?
like 2019.
I can find the exact date, I don't remember.
I think it's 2019 now.
Okay, so any stumps that were created, since this was passed, hers is the only one that we are aware of that has not been taken care of.
Correct.
In my opinion, that it should be taken care of, even though it was not followed up upon, or.
Well, it was followed up upon, but no fine was given.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's the problem that I'm having. Like, she has several letters, like we have copies of the letters.
So legally, we did our process, just not to the point of finding someone. I can understand someone being upset and not wanting to have to take care of something when you're being told to, but I also am not okay with being bullied in return. So, and I think that sets the tone for how people can treat these type of items in the future.
I don't know if it would be helpful for her to see, and this is just what I'm thinking now, after, like, while we're talking about this. Would it be helpful for us to give a list of other people that have removed stumps since then, I don't know. I know
She won't care.
she won't care, but
It does show that people have been taking care of these issues in a
since
proper
it was
manner.
in, she's upset because Claybo's near her have a stump.
From like 1988.
Right. And there's a stump across the street that has been there for just as long. And that's what she's harping about. I mean, you were here during the meeting.
But the ordinance was put in place in 2019.
And the tree was taken down in 21, right? Something
Mhm.
like that. So,
It had, maybe because we moved in July of 18 and had the stump removed or a tree that went. So that would have been 19, and I knew I had to take the stump out.
The only thing we didn't approve when we changed that was that a tree had been put back in its place, because we thought that was, I do remember that part. I don't remember us saying that you had to take out your stumps, which is why I wondered if it happened earlier and there was some, I don't know.
But let's say, for example, it did happen earlier, and we can't find the minutes for that. In essence, when you voted as a board
It's
to
still,
approve chapter 10 on a later date,
it
you
still was
circumvent
before,
the earlier one by approving the chapter 10 later anyway.
right.
and that was in 2019. Correct.
Yes.
So Mark says, the foregoing may not keep Shirley from some other form of protest against her prosecution and contention she is being discriminated against. Although I conclude that the board should consider replacing the ordinance, this of course would, in my opinion, take away any leverage she may have. As the ordinance is currently written, it clearly applies to those who cut down trees after its enactment. It also only applies to those who cut the trees down, not to trees felled by lightning or other natural causes. Which I know there was somebody that was upset. Billy, who lives across the street from you, Billy and Jenna Cook.
Oh, Billy Kramer.
I think he was upset because his tree fell down during a storm.
He was more upset when he had to take the tree down, but he knew the stump had to go.
Right, but he was upset because I think he wanted the village to
Yeah,
take care
there
of
was
it.
a previous administrator that,
Right, I remember that. What would you like, you want me to just keep enforcing it and asking her to take it down? Is that what you're doing? I just need some suggestions here. And we're gonna do our best to take it out, but she has,
I think
we've talked to her about this since July.
I believe we should move forward with it because it sets a precedent for the neighborhood. Nobody's being discriminated against. It's something in our laws, is that ordinances that I think everyone should follow and everyone has been following. She's been given opportunities multiple times. We've offered to take it out and put it on her taxes so she can pay for it herself. I think the village has been exceptionally reasonable in
Okay.
giving her options. And
Agreed.
some municipalities wouldn't have.
Do we start fining her at this point? I mean, we didn't do that in the past, and we just kind of say, okay, you're in violation, here's your first fine. And I think we've got a list in the ordinances as to what the fines would be, $1,000 the first time, $1,500, whatever it might be. It's just like, we have gone through this with you for so long, the board has decided that this is the way we're going to go. It's up to you if you don't want, but if it's $1,000 to take the stump, I just don't under it. It's not, it's a big stump.
That's a huge
It's, well, and now she had her flowers.
She had
We
to
tried,
take
we
it out.
offered help.
She took everything
But I
down.
do think we're gonna have to just, everybody in agreement?
Who's our stump person? Is that you, Ken?
Ken, it's your turn, you get to take care of this one.
Did we do?
Brian and I
Okay.
were thinking about just getting a big chainsaw.
Just,
Okay, just
yeah,
grinding that thing up, man.
yeah.
So when I had stuff removed, it was like 200 some bucks.
Well, her stump is
It's
the
a,
Well, I
size of that
understand.
table.
I get it. Have we got a quote on like what?
It was 500.
It was 500.
which I think is reasonable for that size. I think
Yes,
that
very.
is not something I.
So here's the issue with all that. If a guy just shows up in her yard with a stump grinder and starts grinding her stump on her property, she's not gonna like that.
No, we have to give her notice ahead of time. Well, we've done that, she puts up no trespassing sign, she's gonna call it.
That's what I'm getting.
All
Is it
these
worth the
things.
fight?
That's why I went to Mark Kingston, that's why he came to the meeting. I don't-
According to what he says here, we will most likely win, but do we want to go through that process? That's my question. I personally do not. Leave it the way it is, it's not killing anyone.
The hard thing with that is,
I know what you're gonna say.
that's right there,
I
it's
understand.
on Taylor Avenue, everybody's going through there. It's not tucked away someplace in back. This is right there.
Let's put a 6-foot fence around it, so no one can see. I don't know, man. It-
50/50.
Would it be worth just having someone do a walk through the neighborhood to make sure there's not any other stumps?
There are other stumps,
And
There
those
are-
people having
Well,
orange or?
okay,
that's the other issue.
what about
Like,
the one on Maryland, on the corner of Maryland and Taylor-ish, maybe a house in? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Grandfather.
yeah.
Has that been there forever?
Yes,
It's been ground out.
no, there's
No,
a
it's
huge,
still there.
there's a huge hill there now.
Oh, yeah, that's where they ground it down, it just,
I think it grew over the stump.
Yeah.
Charles was like, there's still stuff
There
there.
still would be.
okay.
It is not, it's not.
So that
totally
hasn't really been done. So she can point to that and say, well, this stuff is still sitting.
But it was before 2019.
Well,
Could
but
be.
I get that.
She's gonna fight us on
She
everything.
will.
She also mentioned that she'd take the stump out when she was here, but she wanted the other two stumps out
Yes.
also.
So she's gonna fight
That's what
that.
she's gonna challenge.
So I've talked to Mark,
Fight though.
I've talked to Chris, I've talked to Ernie, they all said, just get rid of the stupid stump. They all were like,
And what if-
just be done with it.
And then-
Why, it's not worth the fight. That's what all three of them told me.
Agreed.
I don't know.
But
That's why
she's-
I'm like, I
she's
don't know
gonna-
what to do.
She's gonna refuse to pay for it though. Do we just need it?
Well, the city of
Where you
Racine
can't
will put it
refuse
on
it when it's on
your
property
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's.
city of Racine will put it on your taxes, and that would be it. There wouldn't even be this discussion happening, or leniency, you know? Obviously, we're a smaller community, and we all know each other, which is great, and having that kind of animosity is never fun.
Is that possible to do, to put on taxes?
Yeah.
She requested to put it, pay herself,
Right.
and I got my thing.
That's-
So this side is saying,
The minutia.
take it out, yes,
Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
This side, you're saying maybe not, Laura,
I'm just-
take it out.
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
wanna
I'm just
take
saying,
it to a vote?
judge whether we wanna deal with it. I mean,
Okay, roll call. Just tell me, can I do a roll call right now?
no,
Can I ask for your vote?
you
No?
can ask for an opinion.
Just because it's a discussion, it's just a discussion. so it's just a
Correct.
discussion.
So you could ask for a opinion.
Okay, so Linda says yes,
Yes.
Brian
I agree.
and Laura, and,
Fine.
so now we're strong arming you.
Fine. I didn't know that was a yes.
Do you want to live next to the stump, dear?
No, but here's the thing that I'm concerned with. And I just don't want it to turn into a big fight. We have no clue whether she's gonna fight it or how far she wants to go. You know what I mean? She already came in here and said she feels picked on. Okay. That to me indicates, at least a little bit, that she's completely against it. She does not want us to make decisions for her or whatever, regardless of whether the fact it's in our ordinances. You know what I'm saying? That's the impression I got.
But we still had the guy across from me in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I know.
On the cars, right, and getting ticketed,
Yep,
and
I
they
do.
took care of it after he came in here upset.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
She has not gotten an answer from us. And she didn't come to the meeting, and she probably thinks we dropped it. So I do feel like we need to reach out, back out to her and say, listen, we had to look at a few things.
Sure.
This is the decision that we've made. You have a few options. You can not take it out, we can take it out for you and put it on your property tax bill, or you can take it out yourself. But your tree was taken down in 2019 and that, or 2021, and that was an ordinance in 2019. So
The other trees that she's questioning were done 20 years ago, and they do not, and actually I talked to her and I said, there's something that you can put on a stump that you drill something
Yes,
in there.
and then it will eat it away.
It burns it right down.
Salt.
And it's like something that you can do that's pretty inexpensive, and I
You can
thought
pour
maybe
salt
we
down
should just
there.
do that.
You
Yeah.
Drill a big hole.
I'm looking at Mark's letter here, it says regarding the situation, She is obviously in violation of the law.
Mhm.
The only reason there has been doubt as to its application, in her opinion, is that she is being singled out.
And
Of course, she is not.
Mhm.
It applies to everybody.
Okay. Cut it down.
Okay,
Okay.
so we got our work cut out for us, but then you can go
Who's-
door to door.
who's we?
Hey, man, I'll rent the grinder, I'll rent the stuff grinder and go over there and take that thing right out. What do you think, Brian? You in?
We've
Let's
tried.
do it.
All right.
Okay, so we
Make
will.
sure it's
we will
after
keep-
noise
will-
hours.
Can we smoke
will
cigarettes?
Talk to
Of
Shirley.
course.
Cool.
Can we yell at
We will
kids to
talk
get
to
out right
Shirley.
now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
She'll let you do more than me.
Right.
Okay, next on the agenda, I'm sorry, this is a long meeting tonight. The discussion of complex window bid. Well, we have two things to go into closed session for, I'm so sorry. I'm trying so hard, Brian. Believe me, it's been a long week. Discussion of complex window bids. So, Latiria and I are gonna talk about this together. This has been a little bit of, it's been a lot. It's been a little bit of a headache, and I've gone back and forth with a couple of things. As we know, when we first started looking at this, the first time we put out, Latiria put out bids about 5 weeks ago, or she put out something in the paper to get bids. Because this project is over 25,000, we have to do it a certain way. You can't go out and shop for people and ask them, like, they can submit a bid. Now we could ask people to submit even more bids if we want. We got 2 bids, but we have to do this a legal and correct way. And feel free to just pop in there and take over. What do you want to say about the process of what we've done?
Yeah, and we were working with community architects, so that's who was like overseeing the project. They would put the bid in the paper. That's something that I did, and then they kind of stepped in like they should have to take the next steps. So that's kind of where we are.
I know that we did pay CUNY Architects $9,000, and they didn't do very much for us, so they still did owe us some work.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're paying them right now. Between Latiria and I, we don't know if we want to continue with them, because so the bid process, we did get 2 bids. Kurt did go and talk to a couple others. We had somebody come and present to us. But this is a big project, which we know. The last time we put out bids, we didn't get any back, I don't think. Maybe 1.
When the previous administration,
Yes.
yes, they got 1.
And that's the hardest thing, is the fact that we really need 3 bids to move forward. We got 2 so far, but we do have some other things that have come in, some estimates that have come in, that we could ask them if they wanted to submit a bid, then we could have them submit it the correct way. The other thing I've been hearing from a couple different aspects. Ernie, being the previous president and a contractor, really wanted me to look at commercial or storefront windows, which we've talked about. Kurt wanted us to look at residential and single-hung windows. I reached out to a contractor I know, and she was like, we'd never put residential windows in a commercial building. However, then speaking with actually my father, who sold windows for a living, and he's looked at these windows, he does not think these are commercial windows at the moment anyways.
Okay.
When you compare, and you'll see in your packet, there are differences between residential and commercial glass. Ernie's, and I'm just gonna speak of Ernie because he looked into this project much more than I had. He was a contractor, and I am not. I'm an English teacher. But I had to compare apples to oranges and see what the difference was. These are not condos, they're not withstanding wind and hail, and they're not tall. They are cottage-like buildings.
Exactly.
And I know, and Ernie's gonna watch this video,
I know.
and say, Allie, but, he does say that he feels that commercial windows would last longer. They last, 60 years. Kurt doesn't agree.
I got all kinds of information.
Yeah, and my dad was like, I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that, but the cost of commercial windows is a lot, Residential's is a fourth of the cost, but they will only last possibly a fourth of the time, maybe, Kurt doesn't agree. I'm not a window person, and I keep looking and asking and wondering.
Can I add something
Yes,
here?
yes.
Okay. Like all this research that I've been doing, I've got an article here from Architectural Digest from
Mhm.
2023.
Yes, please share.
Okay? Vinyl versus aluminum windows, 2023 comparison. The lifespan of vinyl windows have the potential to last between 20 and 40 years, depending on the installation and window quality. Aluminum windows can last 20 to 25 years with regular maintenance, and that means twice a year you have to go in to each of these windows and you have to apply this solution of some sort to keep it from corroding. How many windows are we going to have?
Well, and I'm not, now,
This
like,
is for each window.
talking to different people, like, I was like, okay, I'm on this side, no, I'm on this side, I don't know where to go.
Can I say something?
Looking, yes, go ahead.
So I'm looking at, first of all, I just sold a house a year and a half ago, or whatever it's been, with windows that were residential, that were 100 years old. Perfectly functional. The wood was not rotten, they were fine, they just needed a coat of paint. So there's that. The other thing I'd like to point out is on the strength and longevity, on page, residential buildings don't need to worry about high winds or pressure from structural loads. That's why residential glass is usually thinner. Understood. This is not a skyscraper.
Right.
These are, single-story buildings, basically.
There's no hurricane.
It says, commercial glass is much harder to replace than residential glass, so it needs to last longer. Understood. But once again, this isn't the courthouse, And if we're getting 20 years out of it versus 60,
Well, and I don't even know if we're
if
really
that's
getting,
even true.
I don't know if we're really getting 60 years out of these
That's-
windows because they
well-
are not working.
Right,
Correct.
because it was 60 years ago, they may have been put in, I'm sorry to
That's
interrupt,
right.
but 25 years ago, they needed to be replaced.
Correct.
So they're really bad right now, so it's not like they lasted 60 years. They
Well,
didn't.
And the contractor I talked to just mentioned, she said you would never, I wanted her to come look at the buildings just to give me, but she didn't, which is fine. I didn't really make a big issue of it. But these are cottage-like buildings with smaller windows.
If you look at-
She said it's more for, to let more light in and things like that. We don't have
This
that.
isn't the storefront.
We don't have a type of window, except for in the offices, in the back of the salon, we have those beautiful triangle windows, which would be very costly to fix.
Can I give you, this is
Yes, you can.
CUNY's cover letter.
Yes, and they even said they're,
From 2021. Read that first paragraph.
yep, they're original. They even say, the majority, approximately 70 of the windows consist of original casement style residential wood windows. Some windows in the hall are more commercial style metal frame. I know, because Ernie's like, do it right, Ally, but I am really having a hard time. Do you want to share what we got about the bids?
Yes, so if you look in your packet, that this information also is in there, the contract that we had previously before, with the previous administration. So that contract is in there, and then there's also the two bids. So one says for contractors, and the other one says, intake. So it's an email. It's the top page, it's not faithful.
These were the bids we got. This did not include the estimates we got from Siding Unlimited, there was
And
another,
Wisco.
and Wisco.
And
Where,
so-
I did not see those. Wait, hang on. Oh, wait, nope, it's up in the front, it's not attached, it's right there. It's
This?
separate, it's not in your packet.
Is this yours?
Yeah, I got mine.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
You wanna do that?
No, it was just, it wasn't in your
Okay.
packet, it was separate.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a proposal to replace the windows in Building 5 with
Storefront.
storefront. And for one building, it was $190,000. Fiscally, are we being responsible for, we've got 5 buildings that we could be potentially taking care of. like it's a lot.
We don't have a 30-year lease on each of the buildings, so the tenant that pays by the first of the month either.
Yeah, agreed.
Buys empty, right?
Right, if that was a building on Main Street with high traffic, cars really close by, potential vandalism, because, it's more densely populated, sure.
And also aluminum windows let in heat. So you've got western exposure, you're gonna have heat coming in. And vinyl,
Maintenance.
they have different types of glass, you can have
Maintenance.
heat and heat out.
Maintenance,
It is
yeah.
more energy efficient too.
That's kind of what I've gathered
Yeah.
from what I've noticed.
Do we know what the warranty is on the windows that we saw? Because Pella,
I think
I know
if
the
it's in a
worst.
commercial building and it's not a residential building, the warranties are not the same as they would be in a home,
okay, because we
from what
have,
I've understood.
we
But
have,
that's a good thing to ask.
yeah, and that, and are there any offsets that we can look at? Versus, they're talking about higher efficiency, higher insulation values. Could we get some kind of a rebate from Wisconsin or federal to offset that as well? If we
I don't know
went
if
with
the focus-
something.
The focus on energy would probably be a good resource for
Yeah,
that.
so if we went with something that was more energy efficient, even if it cost much, maybe, or more, maybe we can offset that with some kind of a rebate or something.
And reduce
Government,
our utility bills.
and less utility bills, exactly. I
So
think-
you can see the two window bids for forward contractors and in-tech insulation. There's a couple different things we can do. You shared. What are
So-
some things we can do?
The first one that came in was the 4 contractors, and then the second one that came in was the one with Intech. So we just want to take a look at the numbers.
So,
And this is also windows and doors.
So in tech, that's for like commercial? That number, is that for commercial window?
It's aluminum, yeah. That's-
Because they went with CUNY's architect.
They went with CUNY's.
Bid,
so
even
we
though
have
we
to-
asked them to change it, they,
Yeah.
That's $2 million.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
No,
So the numbers
There's no
is,
way.
it's similar with the other bid too. So the other one is more expensive than this one they were looking at.
So this one for $2 million, what are they warranting their windows for? Any idea?
So I let them know, hey, I'm gonna be discussing this with the board, and I will get back to you with any information that we have, just because the numbers.
Well, I'm saying, they can say they're gonna last 60 years, but if they're not gonna warranty them for 60 years,
Right.
that's a different story.
right.
Mhm.
And then there's also, looks like
So-
an amendment here, alternate number 1. If they're gonna install interior wood trim around the new windows, it's gonna be $15,000 for building 2 and 15 for building 4.
Right.
That's another 30,000.
And if forward contractors, I feel like their numbers came down a little bit. But again, that's for 2 buildings and then another 2 buildings.
And I can get a list together, and kind of like, when I follow up with them, I can ask them specific questions if you guys have them.
If I can add, when I was walking with Forward, he's telling me he's a window contractor, and he said he's gonna put in Menard windows. And I said, no. And he said, what kind of windows are you thinking about? And I said, Pella. And he says, how do you spell it?
Oh, come on.
What he said. Oh, he was just gonna get Menards windows.
This is a window guy.
And who is this?
Or
Forward.
for contractors.
So you know my opinion.
Did he actually mean that?
Oh, yeah, he wrote it down.
I mean,
He wrote it down.
How do you spell that?
So I guess the
That's who I'm dealing with when I'm getting these ones.
no,
from-
I understand that.
The other option we have is we could reach out to the ones we got estimates for and ask them to put in a formal bid. So it can be, like we're working with government, we're in government, and we have to do this properly. So we could reach out to them and say, could you please put this in a formal bid, and then we could vote on those as well. But again, the numbers, I don't want the numbers to change, and those numbers are gonna change before the first, after the first
Essentially,
year.
unless we can,
Meet for 10 minutes and make a decision.
exactly.
And
The
I
other-
would make, if we did that, I would make a very fast meeting, because I respect all of your time. It would literally be hopefully 20 minutes to make a decision, and we can move forward.
Here's my opinion on it. I think we need to have 3 bids for commercial, 3 bids for residential, and then make our decisions. Look at what the warranties are, see the differences there, and then also look into whether or not we can get some kind of rebate, depending on whatever that word, the E value, the argon, whatever, the insulation, insulation value. And then we can make an informed decision. That's what I think.
I am going to share also, I'm going back to Ernie just because he was in this process. He did say we want to look at lead. We want to have somebody looking at the lead in the windows if there's any. He's lead certified now.
Paint over it.
I don't know.
Really? You just paint over it?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think if you remove the windows, there might be a problem if you remove the windows and there's
Could
lead.
be, yeah.
That's what I think he's
Yes.
more concerned about. Like,
Put a sign
You've
that
gotta make
says, don't
sure-
lick the window.
you've got to make sure you know somebody that knows what they're dealing with lead. So that's one thing. There was another thing though that I was going to share. What's the other thing I was going to say?
You're gonna say we should just do screens instead of windows.
That's so crazy all day long.
For an extra pair of suckers.
I think the other thing is, I do not want to rush this process. And I do thank Latiria for saying, Alan, you need to slow down because this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I know I want to get this started and we want to get the process going, but I do feel like we were going very fast. And I do want to make sure I don't want to take too much time that we're losing out on money,
Agreed?
but I also want to make sure we're taking our time in doing the right thing.
Correct. I agree.
Laura, is there anything you want to add? I do appreciate all that you looked at too, and I do appreciate what you shared with me about the estimates.
Thank you. Kendall, I have a question for you. We had looked at some additional funding, additional borrowing. Is there a limit the time limit that we can go with that? Or is that just kind of like it's available to us? I know you said we don't start paying it back until 2025. Is there a limit in getting that money? Do we have to get it sooner than later, or we can just say, okay, we'd like it?
When I talked to our financial rep from Ellers, he did not seem like time was of the essence.
Okay, that's good.
He seemed like it was always there, and these are our options. The interest rate was fairly low, and it should only really go down in this next year a
Yeah.
little bit. They don't
Say that.
anything I've read online
Right,
doesn't see things going back up, only
Right.
slowly downward.
right. We're expecting 3 cuts next year.
So, yeah, there's, by next September, that would be like when we want to make sure we're getting the loan for the roads, when we're going to finish the roads.
Right.
And we also have to get, maybe not CUNY, maybe someone else.
Well,
to help
that's
us
the
with
other
that.
thing we're looking
And
at.
then, but we might need to do 2. We might need to do a loan for the remaining windows by, the spring,
Okay.
and then the second road one
Yeah,
at the end of, after September.
okay. That makes sense.
That's what else I was going to share. I know Kurt mentioned that he would be willing to take this project on. I also know that Ernie said that he would be willing to oversee the project for us because he's a contractor. So that's just something to put in your head. It is not something we need to discuss now. I don't feel comfortable that I would be able to oversee this at all because I just don't feel like it's out, well, it is not my area of expertise, but I do want to slow down and just make sure we're looking at this. The two of us have worked with CUNY a little bit now. We have not been real impressed. He was supposed to come and open the bids with us on Tuesday. He canceled on material at 12 o'clock. He was supposed to come at 4:30. She was a little mad. I'm like, I can't believe that he just canceled. So I just feel like maybe this was good at one point. This is not a great place for us to be using, and I feel like I don't feel confident in what they're always sharing. So
I know Ernie had problems with Rodrigo when he was
It's just, I've not been impressed.
They have just not got back to him.
I'm not impressed.
You know, but now another thing I want to mention is with these windows, as I understand it, CUNY is going to put on this bid and say, per our specifications, okay? So they've got all this stuff, Kurt's got, you know, things that they're going to say, okay, this window, that window, this window. It's all changed. So you can't have somebody going out there and saying, okay, I'm really interested in this bid. They'll go to CUNY and they'll say, oh, well, these are the specifications we have to use. And that might not be what we really want. So I think that, you know, if we would go to different, like Nielsen, Madsen, Barber, that's a good firm. And they could, maybe we could just kind of say, okay, this is what we'd really like to do. And so all the people who come forward to bid, they can look at it and go, okay, this is what they want. They want these windows, they want 8 doors. They want a half glass or a third glass for the doors. They want these type of windows. We want picture windows here. We want, you know, casement windows, not casement, but the hung windows, the single hung.
Single hung or double hung.
Single, and that way they know. So that's really apples to apples. Because if you've got somebody looking at the stuff that Huey's got out there, they got trapezoid windows and all, and that's so expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
we had talked about blocking off some of the top parts and just doing it a lot more economically. So if they go in there and they say, well, this is what Huey gave us. Well, sorry, that's not what we want. They're gonna think we're all nuts.
It's gonna limit the bids we get.
They actually
Yes.
have very good drawings and sizes.
So I'm not, like, I don't feel like we've failed, I just feel like we're still not there yet. And, maybe our first step is just looking at getting a new person to come out and do the work for us, I don't know,
Did you have a chance to talk to Jonathan Miller?
not yet, no.
So I'm wondering if maybe he has any input on that.
Yeah, actually at the meeting, the RCCIC meeting, it was announced that Racine County Courthouse is getting new windows.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be a good, tap into that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can tap into talking to them,
Good
see
point, good point.
what they're doing. So,
They're probably doing commercial windows because it's a tall building, it's a tall
Oh, yeah.
building in
How long are these bids good for?
I read like 90 days.
So if
So,
you put out another pamphlet, or another advertisement, are you gonna just ask for residential, or are you gonna go
Yeah.
for both? So
well,
Maybe we should just
that's something I think you have to decide first,
Mhm.
because, you know,
Yeah.
I've got my
Residential
opinions,
sounds like
but, you know, the board has to make that decision first, because you can't say, because you're not comparing apples to apples now.
well, and I do wonder if maybe we take CUNY out of it and just contact them and say, this is what you gave us for a bid, but maybe you need to come in, I don't like what you said before about Pella and Cobra contractors.
Oh, tell me.
I do
And
wonder,
I got 3 contractors talk to me this week. When are we gonna know? When are we gonna know? When are we gonna know? And whether you wanna talk to them, we discussed a week or so ago, you were gonna talk to those guys.
can we have them do it formally? Would they get mad at us if we ask them to do it the correct way?
I think they'll bid.
Okay,
I mean, this is a big
So-
project.
I would like from you, Kurt, I would love for you to make sure you give me all 3, or however many contractors contacted you.
I'm
I know,
I'm not contacting them.
you don't have to. Send them to me. Latiria and I will contact them and ask them, can you go through this formal process for us?
Yeah, I can do that.
And then at least we can get, and I could certainly ask, can you give us a difference between commercial and single hung residential?
If they do.
And explain our situation.
Well, what do you wanna ask them?
I want to ask them if they will give us a formal bid rather
I
than.
think they will.
Yeah,
But I think they're also gonna want, if they're bidding apples to apples, it's like, these are CUNY drawings, they're very good drawings. And they got all the sizes, so they have to have a sheet similar to this,
correct.
saying that in building 2, this opening,
Well, we have all that information and I can give them, we can still contact Rodrigo and ask him to give that information out to the people that I talked to. I don't think that will be a problem. I think Rodrigo will give the information to them, because Lateria's already done that with a couple different ones, but that might be good for a couple of contractors that you've already talked to.
Right. And, but we also have to relook at those atrium windows. We have to completely design.
Well, that's kind of why I would also talk to the contractors and let them know that those big rooms with those little tiny windows, we have a different
No,
vision for
the
that.
two guys that we have, they know exactly what I was asking.
Right,
Cutting off at 9 feet and windows down below. This contractor might have had this little idea, and this contractor had just a different idea, but if we,
If you tell them this is what we want.
yeah.
that'll give us, yeah.
Yeah.
That-
I think it'll give us a better idea, so that's what I'm gonna start with. Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
Now, are we gonna ask for aluminum windows too? I thought
Well,
we kind of talked about.
Ken just said he'd like to know, can he see 3 bids from commercial and 3 bids from residential?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
But
If-
wouldn't,
if we're
wouldn't
still-
some elements be commercial?
Why are we doing, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
why are we doing commercial windows if we already decided to do, it's a waste of time for them guys to come here to do commercial windows versus,
No, I
residential.
agree, but when you brought up the idea or the concept of, oh, that whole commercial, that's why I'm saying, are we gonna go with residential? 'Cause
Well,
that's what I'm finding.
I think it's definitely it's more cost effective for sure.
Okay.
I think
The
it's
only
just-
thing I just get
Well,
people in my ear
the other,
that are saying commercial windows are gonna last longer.
well.
That's, it's,
yeah, maybe,
But again, with
I don't think it's worth the difference in
regular
price.
maintenance, if you
No.
use architectural dimensions.
Pretty close.
If it's gonna cost us
No,
Two and a
I
half
totally-
times.
$2 million bucks.
I talked to more
I didn't see that.
than a couple
Yeah.
sources, and my mind has been changed.
Anyway.
2 million?
Roughly,
Just-
one
Yeah,
was,
those are 600.
so for a couple buildings, it was 700 something. Then for the other buildings, it was 9.
Something, yeah, so.
But you're looking at less than 400.
Okay.
Yeah,
so next.
well, this is 2 million,
I'm trying to move on.
commercial. Will they last longer? We have no way of even knowing.
No.
What, shouldn't some elements be technically commercial, like doors and
All right.
things like that, or does it matter?
Well, yeah, we're getting like metal doors.
Is anybody going out of town, just so I know, anytime before Christmas?
Well,
No,
Okay, in case we do need to meet for a special meeting for 20 minutes, half an hour, just in case we get
Just-
anything
yeah.
back. In case any of these prices are gonna change, I just wanna keep it.
But now, do we have to go through and put another ad in the paper?
No, I don't think so. Our ad is already out. I think that this is the 3rd time we put an ad in the paper. Now we could ask them, here, you can send this to CUNY Architects and bid your project. I don't think we have to start the process all over. Rodrigo even said that.
Yeah, well, he said he can do an extension too, like,
But you do with CUNY, he's strictly commercial windows. I don't see anything about vinyl vinyl windows in their ad. And it's, I mean,
But they mentioned
You
that.
can change
that the
and
building-
alter.
Yeah, the building. is
well,
not-
that,
yeah,
and then
it's
alter the
residential.
atrium windows, because if you're gonna change it, you gotta have apples to apples with all these contractors, so they're bidding the same thing.
okay.
That's kind
Do
of
you
my
have to put-
biggest thing.
You have to put any plans out there as far as what you want for each building?
You can get numbers off of this. He's got some really accurate numbers. You need a microscope to read it, but, I can figure out those numbers. But, I don't.
That's why I would like to just call the contractors myself, fill them in on what we're doing, tell them the process, tell them that they need to contact CUNY, give us an actual bid rather than just an estimate. But anything over $25,000, we do have to have like an actual bid. It can't just be, just send it my way, I just want to go down the right channels. So, I know, I'm just saving my butt.
But if we have other contractors look at CUNY's information.
That's why They can adjust.
Yeah,
things.
Rodrigo said he can adjust pretty much anything in there, and he said he can also switch it to residential. I thought that's what he was.
Supposed to be doing, but, you know, things are
He said
falling,
he'll just put it both.
things are falling through the cracks, and it's frustrating for both of us.
It is.
So, okay, I'm gonna move on, if that's, are we good? We can move on?
Yep.
Okay, so, next item, resolution of approval of accounts payable, any motion?
Make a motion to approve the resolution for approval of accounts payable.
And a second?
Second?
Okay, motion made by trustee Johnson and second by trustee Hinkle, all in favor?
Read that.
Did I
Opposed?
send it to you in
You guys have it, so pass?
electronic?
Okay,
Oh, I'm sure you could,
next,
but it's like, oh my God.
um,
I'm in there with them.
we have a closed session item. I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personal I can't even read this problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where par B applies, which if discussed in public would be likely to have substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. And I'm also, go ahead,
I was gonna say I move.
okay?
I move to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.585 F.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by trustee Rude and second by trustee Judy. Discussion?
Don't forget to get the
Okay, roll
signs
call
out.
for closed session.
I did.
Oh, you did.
Roll call for closed session.
Hinkle, aye.
Sweet, aye.
Johnson,
Yes or aye?
Hinkle, aye.
Okay, we are in closed session.